Well, here's what I think the Celtics are. Right team for the right time. Just go back 1 year. Joe Mazzulla, the head coach, was young, looked like he was completely over his skis, got worked by Eric Spoelstra in the playoffs. This is bad. Marcus Smart, why is he shooting so much? He was more alpha than Jayson Tatum. And you weren't quite sure, do we give Brown and Tatum extensions? I mean, these guys aren't winning the title. They're just good in the regular season. We don't know. A lot of success, we don't like to admit it, is upstairs. Brad Stevens, the former coach, goes upstairs. And he says, Joe Mazzulla needs help. He put really good guys on the staff. Now it's a really good staff. He empowered the staff. He said, you know what, we're a little bit too much Tatum dependent. Let's bring in Porzingis, Drew Holiday. Other scores, take the pressure off. Let's give Jaylen Brown an extension, make one of our stars very happy, know he's long-term guy. All of it equaled right team, right time. Their identity became more team over Tatum, collaborative basketball, very, very bizarrely deep roster in a time it's hard to do what they're doing. 8 guys that can catch, shoot, defend, dribble, pass. It is a cliche, but the Celtics became the ultimate we over me. I know it's a cliche. It's nothing against Jayson Tatum. He is an elegant talent. But year after year after year, we kept looking at him to provide the moment. And Brad Stevens, the guy upstairs who had coached him, recognized, hey, let's put less pressure on him and provide more offensive artillery so we don't have to, every big game, put our microscope on Jayson Tatum and let others flourish. And I've said this, I love Tatum. He's a great player, somewhere between 5 and 8 in the NBA. But when you went into a big series and all eyes were on him, you weren't quite sure what you were getting. I don't know if this is a great Celtic team. NBA champions are a little bit like movies that win an Oscar. Sometimes it's not an all-time great picture. It's just an all-time great moment. Everything worked. Who knows with the future? Porzingis' health, he's going into surgery, cross your fingers. Al Horford, Drew Holiday getting older. Will they be able to work a deal for Derek White? But right now, they deserve credit. 80-21, the deepest team in the NBA by a mile. I think Denver would have been a much better matchup. Dallas was a piñata against this team. I mean, let's be honest. This was not a competitive series. It was, for moments, a little dramatic. But what I like about this team, what I really like about Boston, I picked them to win. I picked Jaylen Brown MVP. But what I really like about them is that they borrowed a little bit of the Patriots way, is that it is much more team over individual star. It is sacrificing for the betterment of us, smart, efficient, over flashy, and in a sport which usually rewards and worships the individual, I'm totally okay with that. This was a collaborative basketball effort over alpha guy, get me mine guy. And maybe that's the new NBA. It's certainly getting more European. But I thought this was about cohesion and collaboration and less about Jayson Tatum dependency in previous years, which put a lot of stress on the organization. It put a lot of stress on Jayson Tatum. And we saw in the Eastern Conference Finals and the Finals. Tatum was okay with Jaylen Brown, his partner, his guy. He was okay, him taking and making the big shot. Celtics have their 18th banner. They are historically unique, where they're number one in the Eastern Conference Finals and the Finals kind of took a back seat to their two. As Tatum referenced, over the last several years, they've lost a lot of home playoff games against cruddy Eastern teams. You're not quite sure on any night who's going to provide the it, but that's okay. They're likable. They're collaborative. It's a different way to win, and it certainly throttled the Dallas Mavericks. And let's talk about the Dallas Mavericks. The NBA is a star-driven sport. So it is not surprising in the least that Luka would be worshipped and really, really popular. He is just a raw, pure scorer, the likes we've rarely seen. But whereas Tim Duncan, Michael, and Magic combined for 16 titles, Duncan was sturdy, foundationally strong, took pay cuts at the end, whereas Magic elevated everybody around him. Whereas Michael Jordan was committed both ends, leadership, skills, again, 16 titles. What Luka is a gifted bucket getter who doesn't appear to be in great shape, is regularly disengaged defensively, and spends way too much time barking at officials. They don't flip their calls, bro. Stop. Doesn't it concern you a little that Jalen Brunson left Luka and became one of the best players in the league? He went from like a 2 to a dominant, game-changing, franchise-changing 1. Maybe Luka's not that easy to play with. And the threshold from being a bucket getter, Iverson, Melo, great players, all-timers, to being a championship player is different. A championship player is committed on both ends. Practice early, stays late, best shape on the team. That's different. Leading the right way. Again, Luka is so gifted and has been since he was 14 or 15 years old. Is he amenable to change? Is he willing to listen? Or does he want to be an all-time bucket getter? Michael Jordan at some point had to trust teammates. Kobe at some point had to trust Shaq, Pau Gasol. I mean, don't get me wrong. Luka's going to be an all-time great scorer. But there's a different threshold between that, great bucket getter, all-time bucket getter, and champion. And whereas the Celtics were collaborators and cohesive, leadership from several factions, the Mavericks were a little too young, kind of lopsided, and their star sort of disengaged on defense. There is a gigantic gap in football from getting to a conference championship and winning the Super Bowl. Those are your two toughest wins of the year. A lot of teams get to conference championships. Not a lot of teams in the last 20 years have won Super Bowls. Patriots, Chiefs have a lot of them. There's a difference between, as a 5 seed, getting to the finals, Dallas, knocking off teams, surprising teams, could have lost to OKC, and winning the NBA final in 5 games in a series that wasn't close. I mean, the Mavericks are a 5 seed that overachieved. Last year were tanking. There is absolutely no guarantees with Wemby, OKC, Denver probably adds a piece. There's no guarantee Dallas gets close to the finals next year. Again, they were tanking at the end of last year. Boston has been good for 6 years. Excellent for the last several. No, he did not do enough. The standard changes. The threshold is greater from bucket getter to champion. One team put in that commitment on both ends. The other star hasn't yet.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.